Hey everybody, in a second, you're going to hear from Silvia del Corso, owner of Pink SEO in London, who's going to teach us all about how to get found on the internet using SEO. But before we get into today's episode, did you guys know that I run an academy? Yes, if you go to academy.christamolione.com, you're going to find the From Zero to Six Academy that teaches everything about entrepreneurship. Now, if you're serious about growing your business to six figures and beyond, you may be a great candidate to check out the Academy and apply to join. If you are half in, half out, maybe in a full-time job, maybe just thinking, getting started in your business, then the club, the From Follower to Leader Club, is a better option for you. On the website, you are also going to find a lot of things for you to do. There's on-demand trainings, there's monthly live workshops, there's quarterly challenges that you can join, and a lot more. So go and check it out and hope to see you in one of my programs. And if you don't want to miss any of these episodes, I highly encourage you to subscribe to my weekly newsletter at christamolione.com/insiders. Okay, on with today's episode. See you soon. Welcome, everyone, back to another episode of Take Back Mondays. I'm your host, Christa Molione, and today I have the lovely guest, Silvia del Corso. She is originally Italian, but lives in England and runs an agency for marketing, the Pink SEO. And I have the pleasure of learning from her so much about SEO. So today I decided to bring her on so you too can learn what is SEO, why you need it, and what are some of the best practices. So welcome to the show, Silvia.
Thank you so much, Krista. Thank you for having me here. It's an honor.
Well, it's my pleasure because I think that business owners don't know much about SEO. Obviously, when you start a business, it's not always in a marketing field. So unless you do have that background, SEO is something you may have even never heard about, right? So today I thought I would come and ask you a couple of questions so that everyone can learn these benefits. But before we get into it, tell me a little bit about your agency. So you run a SEO agency. What brought you to specialize versus having maybe a full service marketing agency, or what attracted you to SEO?
I used to have a full service marketing agency, a digital agency back in Italy, where I'm from. You can tell from my accent that I wasn't born here. And yeah, we used to have a digital agency back in Italy. We were building websites and apps, doing all things digital, social media, email marketing, paid ads, SEO, and so on. And then moving here, because in Italy, the economic situation wasn't really, really great. We relocated here 6 years ago, and I said, I believe that the route is specialization. I want to bet and just reshape the agency so that we are cutting loose all of the other branches. We won't be doing anything else than SEO. So now we still have a team, but all of the different skill set and expertise is only used for the goal of optimizing websites. So web developers, account managers, SEO specialists, copywriters, we only do all of the actions to get websites where they should be on Google.
I love it. So with that in mind, what if somebody comes and doesn't have a website? Can you help them, or do you have partnerships where you say, we have someone who can build you the website? Or should a person come to you before they build the website? I want to know what I should tell people.
Well, 90% of the people we work with, they already have a website, because it's not very frequent that people, when they build a site, they don't think about SEO, which is a mistake. But generally, when they launch a site, they just want it done. And they kind of think that if you build it, they will come, you know, the Kevin Costner quote. So they launch it. And then after like 2, 3 years, they realize they could maybe get more out of their websites, or business coaches advise them that why are you not getting the leads that you should? Why is your website just there doing nothing? But there are cases of people, they build a site and they say, let's build it around what people search for, actually. And that's a great way to start. In these cases, we do not build sites anymore, but we liaise with many different professionals based on what the client needs. If they need an e-commerce, if they need a normal website, the platform they want, the type of business. And we work in a triangle with the business owner, the web developer, and us.
I love it. I love it. Well, speaking of that, it's interesting because every business owner who I've coached with knows that they should build a website. So it's very rare that someone comes to me with this opinion, I absolutely don't want a website. There are a few people who ask me if it's really necessary, because on social media they read someone said, you know, oh, the website isn't that necessary. But it's not the majority. The majority wants to build a website. They want to have a website, but they absolutely don't understand what the website is actually for. Wouldn't you agree, Silvia? We talked about this previously. So what do you, in your opinion, your professional opinion, think a website should do for a customer?
It's part of your digital assets. And as users, we always Google a little bit someone, even before meeting them, to get an idea who they are. So you check their site, you check how they look like, and you get your first impression from there. Not having it in 2022 is so rare that it can be a particular choice, but I would want solid reasons for that, because yeah, unless you want to really stay hidden and be the best secret, but it's unlikely. Businesses need to be discovered, need to be found. So it's hiding is not really easily a great choice for a company. So getting a site is necessary. Is one of the tools that you will have to show out of your company, who you are, what you do. And also, one of the things that I tend to recommend is to use it as the place where you concentrate all of your content, because people tend to scatter all of their content throughout social media, newsletters, shared publications and stuff. If you've got a site and you collect your content there, it will be easier for you to retrieve it once in the future you want to find something like, you know, the typical frequently asked questions that people ask you 100 times per week. If you've got them on the site, instead of retyping them all, you just send a link to that. See, we prepared the frequently asked questions for our customers, and you look more professional and you save a lot of time instead of retyping things. And you can be found by other prospective customers. You can be indexed and ranked on Google based on how you're doing things on the site. People can see throughout the site many different pages and get an idea of who you really are. There's plenty of benefits. I can't think of any point against.
Well, I think the problem is the prominence now of social media, which is free, doesn't cost any money. You can build your profile within 30 seconds. I could create a brand new profile, and I'm not paying monthly. If they like your content, they discover it via social, then they're going to go back to clicking on your profile web link that's right under your photo. So if you're not sending them to a reputable website, or they're coming and they don't like what they see, or they, even worse, confused about what they see when they get to your website, then you're kind of wasting your time on social media, because people's attention is so short that they discovered you, they went to your profile, they clicked on your link, 3 seconds, they either liked what they saw or they left, they bounce. And I feel like many business owners don't understand that. They think that people are just going to hire them directly off social. So social media, what you said, to keep all your content in on the website, I really, really like that, because so often I tell people that social media is rented real estate. You don't own social media, and the algorithm is often not your friend. It's going to show your content with a million distractions around it. People are scrolling vertically now, so you're just, there's somebody above you and next in line, and the social platforms are conspiring against you because they're going to show you related content that they suggest. And you know what that content is going to most likely be? Your direct competitors.
If you think of the way the kids now are discovering the world, if they don't know something, they will Google it. So it's now a part of the way we discover the world. And if you've got a business, it needs to be something that you consider. How, if they would ever discover me, how would they find me? How would I look? What do I look like? It's your digital footprint, and sometimes people aren't even aware of the fact they could not be found. They could be found for the wrong reasons. So yeah, it seems obvious, but it's not. I understand.
Well, there's two types of SEO that I know about, so I would love for you to explain a little bit. There's the SEO that comes from the actual site, which is supposed to be set up when someone creates the website. And then there's SEO that's on page that we can influence long term. Can you talk a little bit about those two? And also, when should people be using them?
Well, on page and off site, they are the two main different ways that you can do SEO. On page is anything that you can do on your site, and off site is the third-party domains, mentioning you. And you should be doing both of them with a pinch of salt. They should be all done in the right way. Optimizing your site is obvious that it's a way of making sure that your assets are as good as can be and as compliant with what Google expects as can be, because we know now how it works. We know what the crawler bots, which are those programs, they are programmed to do when they find a page, what they will check, how they would scan a site, so it's possible to replicate it and see how they find you. Okay, there are quite a few things that need to be set in place, and the checklist is long, it can be technical, and it can be being adherent with what your customers search for, because we can find out which words people search for when they Google, because there are databases, Google databases, with all the billions of queries that people search for anything. And there are plenty of tools that you can use to find out with my business, what would they search for? With my product, with my service, with that thing, be it a local service, be it an online one, anything, there is a market for anything that you sell. So regardless of what your business is about, there is someone searching for them, and it's possible to uncover what they use. And then it's a matter of matching the words that they use and the words that are on your page. So making the content compliant. It sounds easy. It's a little bit more technical, but I'm just going through the very basics.
Wait, before you continue along those lines, because it is very technical and I don't want people to lose that. When you're planning your keywords that should be in your website on page, there are free tools and there are paid tools. The free tool that I know about is Google Keywords Planner. Is that a good one? Or are there any other tools that you know about that people could potentially use to research the keywords for their target audience that would be free first?
Well, free ones. Google, for example, has got the Google Trends. It's quite interesting to check because you can see if something is trendy, particularly if you're in certain niches, geographically how it's trending and so on. There is they Answer the Public is the name, and that's another website that appears in a very visual way, like trees all around certain topic clusters. So you search something about cats and you find all of the possible areas and divided even into prepositions. So if, when, how, why, where. So you can think of plenty of things that you can be found for, and people search for them. You do that, you should be found. The main differentiator with the free and the paid tools is that the free tools often are qualitative only. So they give you an idea of another one that is not only qualitative, it gives you some metrics, is something called Ubersuggest.
Yeah.
It was developed by a very famous SEO specialist. So now it's free for the public to use, and that can give you an idea of some metrics, because not all keywords are born equal, and choosing one instead of another can make a massive difference because some are really difficult to achieve, and that could be a very long and complicated discussion, but you can see metrics like how popular they are in terms of volume of search, how difficult to rank for. So yeah, looking at keywords and trying to understand how therefore, but as you said, I understand that when it's not your business, when it's not your field, all of this can sound daunting, can sound technical, and you've got so much to do that you don't really want to think about this. And when somebody's telling you these things, unless you're passionate, and there are people that really, even clients, they're really curious about this and they have fun understanding these sort of things. Otherwise, for the others, they already have so much to think about that they are happy to just let you do, and always with a lot of supervision and making sure that things are aligned with what they are, what are their business goals. But it can be quite technical in the end if we look at all the aspects.
So speaking of that, keywords aren't created equal. So I wanted to ask you about the ranking of keywords, because I think if a person does their own keyword research and they say, oh, this is very interesting, it looks like there's a lot of interest for these keywords pertaining to my industry. Okay, I'm going to go produce content around these keywords, but that's not quite how it works, right? Because something that could be very popular will actually mean you could be competing with a lot of other people, and that means it becomes very difficult for you to rank for. So the recommendation is to kind of find the little niches and niche down further, so you can start with keywords that are easier to rank for and then progressively move towards the bigger keywords. Is that the way you guys would recommend, or am I mistaken?
No, you're not mistaken. Without going too much in technical detail and going too much into different difficult things, if you just think about long tail keywords, a simple keyword could be something like shoes. And that in itself can mean a lot of things, because shoes can be the history of the shoes in the world. You want wedding shoes, you want sports shoes, anything. It can mean anything. So that in itself has got a massive, big volume of search, because so many people search for that, but it's vague.
Yeah.
It doesn't really clarify what is the search intent, what does really the person want at that moment. So then you start adding elements to the tail of the keyword, and it starts becoming a longer tail keyword. So for example, you add white shoes. So now we're not talking about the history of the shoes or the shoes in the world anymore. We are going into something that is more defined. It could still be wedding or tennis shoes. What do you mean? Let's add one more piece. So now we're talking about white tennis shoes. Okay, now we have cut out a lot of other competitors, because SEO in the end is a zero-sum game. You can only rank on that top 10 positions if you rank somebody out. So you need to be better than somebody else. It's always the very competitive sort of industry. And it's like when you're running a race, it's easier to run if you're trying to outrun a smaller number of competitors than if you're just trying to compete against everyone and anyone. So that becomes even much more profitable as a choice to go in depth and really target what your niche is. Also because then as far as you go down the tail of the keyword, then the search intent becomes really laser focused. So for example, why tennis shoes, brand, name, and size. When somebody's searching for that, they basically have their credit card next to their mouse and they're ready to purchase. So adding elements to the tail means you're cutting a little bit the volume of search, but high volumes of search generally are vanity figures. So if you see something that's super big, particularly if you're a small business, you need to set yourself for attainable goals. So you need to actually try and rank for something that is down your scale. And there are technical reasons why you can aim to rank for some keywords instead of others, domain authority, which is basically how popular your site is out of your site. It's a metric that gives Google an immediate idea of how well your site should be ranking. And it's given by a different number of reasons. For example, how long your domain has been existing, because a newly launched website, Google won't trust it straight away. There are so many websites being built every second just for the sake of creating fake networks of links. Google doesn't really trust them anymore. They willingly keep the new websites dampened in a sandbox for a few months. So if you're launching a new website and you're thinking straight away you're going to get there, you need to be patient and you need to just factor in that in the beginning, Google is keeping an eye on you. It's trying to see if you're the real thing, how you perform. In this case, social media will be giving good signals, so showing that you really exist, that you really engage, that people start visiting your site, and then how many other third-party websites engage with yours in terms of links. These are called backlinks, and it can be another super big technical thing, but basically a backlink linking to yours is like a recommendation that you get. You know, when you need an accountant and you don't know who to get and you start asking around and somebody starts mentioning the same person, it can be your brother, your friend, your partner. If some important people mention to you the same person, then you become quite curious and you want to speak with them. The same happens with Google, with so many websites to choose from for those top 10 positions. And I don't envy Google. I mean, they've got quite a sophisticated system because it's challenging. There are billions of results and I got to choose the very top 10. And now the sites they're ranking, they're really good. So Google has really reached that level in which the things that you find nearly all the time now really reflect what you are searching for, even because of what you searched for before, your sort of navigation preferences. These things, they all add up, and Google now is quite sophisticated in terms of AI. They've invested a lot in machine learning. They can give you results that are really good, but they've got so many to choose from that even the ones that got more referrals, more links as recommendations will matter. So if you manage to get linked by somebody else, good reputable websites, I mean, not the spam emails that we receive every day from company is telling tomorrow you'll be on the first page of Google, buy my links, and then you buy links and you have to disavow them because they may get you penalized, because Google still gets you in trouble if you buy rubbish quality spammy backlinks. If you get good links, like PR publications, you are featured in a podcast like this, you have a guest blog, you have your site listed in important, real niche citations. There are many ways in which you can be endorsed by other websites. And all these links will grow your domain authority and will make sure that then you can aim for higher keywords. But again, when you start, you don't know I have all of this. So you need to be realistic and you need to have attainable goals.
Well, I loved what you said, because that would have been my next question is, how do you build backlinks when you're a nobody and you're just starting out? And, you know, and so what you said was PR, podcast, being a guest on someone else's podcast like this, or guest blogging, of course, or offering up. I know there's this website, Ask a Reporter, where you can you could offer up ideas and then get a mention about you. So these are all long games for somebody with a new website, right?
Also, the consideration that no business can thrive on its own and no website can thrive on its own. So having connections between websites becomes just a natural consequence of having connections between your business and somebody else's. So if you're networking, if you're in contact, if you're collaborating with somebody else, if, for example, you are a nutritionist, then you can collaborate with a personal coach and you can collaborate with an osteopath, for example. You can all share common things and help the audience. So you can write something that helps the audience on somebody else's website and they can do the same on yours. And it won't be something spammy because they're real websites and they're real contributions that you're giving. So that also strengthens your business relationships with these other people, if they're real people that you may know. So it's a matter of thinking of who can I connect with, not just my site, even myself, my business.
That is excellent advice, not just for SEO, but for business in general. I like to tell people, one of my friends calls them power partners. You need to find your power partners. And I feel like new business owners often are afraid of competition, and they mistakenly don't want to collaborate with others because they're afraid they will steal my clients, they will steal my business ideas. And my opinion is not at all, because my decision to work with one provider over the other is a lot about personality based. And this is something you should not ever feel bad about. You want to have clients who like your personality, because that means they'll probably work better with you. If you're a service provider, you're going to have to deal with those people. So if they're turned off by your smile, or they don't like your accent, or they love your accent, then I think things will just go more smoothly and you'll have a funner time working with them. So attracting or repelling clients isn't all about your expertise. It's half expertise and half personal attraction, meaning they like the way you speak. They understood your type of communication better than the other person, and vice versa. So there is no stealing each other's business. As long as you find people who you, like you said, nurture relationships with over time, so you trust them. I would never just offer a complete stranger, oh, why don't you run an ad on my website, when maybe they're doing something really unethical and we don't know that. So I think it's, you have to be careful, but hiding is a wrong idea. Like you said, a website on its own doesn't exist. It needs lifeblood. It needs, those backlinks. So do social platforms count as backlinks? Because sometimes on a website, we tend to think, oh, I can recycle. Like, let's say I did a Facebook Live and then I want to embed that video into my website, but it's actually linking back, because it's an embed, it's linking back to Facebook public business page or YouTube or even my podcast provider, are those also considered backlinks?
No, but they help. Because, for example, if you are, I know that would be an easy way.
That'd be easy. I just post everywhere. I'll be like, I'm getting all these backlinks from all my socials.
I know, but do keep on doing it. Do keep on embedding these from some multimedia content. Because, for example, if you've got a video and you embed it in an article, you're basically offering your audience the possibility of using the content in a different way. There may be someone who likes reading, and there may be someone who prefers watching the video. You're giving them the possibility of getting more out of the page, and Google will reward you because they will consider that you're giving more. And people spending more time on your page because they're watching the video, Google tracks it because they track the time that somebody spends on your site, on your pages, many pages they check, and they're all good indicators of quality for a site. So a site that, for example, people just bounce off, Google will demote it, will rank worse because Google will understand they shouldn't be ranking that well. If instead people spend a lot of time on your site, they check a lot of pages, then Google will rank it better, will in the end understand that is something that is giving good quality and giving good content. So you can't use it for the sake of getting links, but you could indirectly, because if you are active on social media, you're basically touching more hearts, you're touching more people. And the people who see you on social media, they can become friends, as it happened with you and me. I mean, I think we got in touch through social media
Absolutely.
years ago.
Yeah, so power partnerships are made everywhere, right? We discover, and then there's some synergy and common interests, or like you do something different, but it's in sync with my audience and it's giving value to my audience. And if I recognize that, I'm going to be like, okay, let's do it. Let's talk.
Something can happen if you're authentic. It depends on what you publish, basically, because if on social media you're just talking about yourself and you're super boring, you're just promotional, then people won't get attracted. But if you're giving value, if you're really helping out, then people will see and they can then ask you, would you like to please have an article on my site? Can we organize something together? And that's how link building grows, if it's done in a qualitative way. Or you can pay a PR agency and you can start getting in the magazines online. Now we're talking about bootstrap solutions when you're starting out.
Yeah, it's hard to paid PR, getting mentioned by journalists. I mean, I do recommend to some of my clients to go to Twitter, because that's where most of the journalists hang out, and try to find the publications that you really resonate with. So if you're a wellness coach or a life coach, go to Thrive Global. That's a really good publication. If you're a business coach, go to Forbes, and then start following those contributors and editors on Twitter and showing them some love, like honest love. And then if you see this one contributor who keeps writing very much like what you agree with, send them a DM or reach out to them and say, I would love to contribute to your article.
Help you out.
Just let me know what you need help with, right? You made me think of another way for backlinks that I'd like to ask if it would count is, one of the revenue streams I teach my people is how to become an affiliate. So become an affiliate for others means sending them traffic, but I see a win-win there, because I also have an affiliate program, so people can become an affiliate of my programs because I have a ton of paid offerings. And so I can generate affiliate links very easily for them. And whenever they post their link, then I see that person purchased through their link and I pay them a commission. And I'm also an affiliate for major brands. And I know several bigger online business owners who were absolute nobodies until they started doing massive amounts of content about a product that they were affiliated for. And they put all that content on their website, their YouTube channel, and pretty soon they started ranking. And not only they made a fortune in affiliate revenue because their links were everywhere and their content was everywhere, but eventually they built brands on their own because people are like, you're so knowledgeable, then we're going to check out what else you're doing, what
Yes.
other things you're offering besides buying that product that you recommended. We're going to look at you. And so I want to say that could be a really lucrative way of building backlinks for yourself in both directions, right?
It can be, I'm thinking, for example, influencers. When you're being endorsed, it can be because you paid them for reviewing one of their things, but it is now quite a serious way and a common way for e-commerce owners to get more visibility. If they only have it on social media, if they only have it like on Instagram or YouTube, but I mean, from YouTube, you can drive links to websites easily. Instagram has got some limitations. It's only link in bio. You can use Linktree, but it's a more complicated thing. But if they're bloggers, for example, if they've got a website and they mention you a link to your site, even with a ref element in the address that then you can track and you can see who they came from. But in the end, it's a link to your site. So that counts as a link.
That's good. And then two more things that I've heard is I've worked with a YouTube expert who gave a lot of advice about what to do on YouTube. And he told me that you want people to binge watch your videos. And so his idea was you should have a bunch of related videos. So as soon as I've finished watching one video, it's like, I know that viewer really loves that content. So why not create a playlist series around that whole subject and say, this is only one video. I've got like 10 other ones. So if you like this video, I will suggest you watch this next. And I think you can do this on your website really easily with related articles. So I've tried to start doing this more at the bottom of my article. Even if I have an embedded video in there, at the bottom, I'll say more resources. And then I'll say, if you like this article, this topic, I've got these things you might enjoy. And I'll put like a link to my playlist about it. And I've tried to create downloadables for all my articles. So if I make an article about SEO, I will say, okay, here's a checklist of some basic SEO practices, how to get started, or maybe vocabulary. What is ranking? What are long keywords? What are short keywords? Just something for my audience who's not technical at all, who's just starting out. Like, what would they want to know? And that's enough. And what it does is it gets a new link, but they get on my list. So then they become email subscriber, and then I can keep driving more traffic back, right? Get more business.
Absolutely. It's part of what you said before of allowing people to use more content, to spend more time on your site and watching more pages. Basically, it all falls back into the fact that user experience now is one of the best things that you can do for SEO. So if you're offering a fantastic user experience to your users, Google will reward you. Make them happy, like the best sort of SEO strategy that you can do. And making them happy in terms of user experience is also giving them the possibility of finding easier what they need. So all of the user experience, the UX on the site. And if you've got a lot of content, because over time we keep producing content and we have a lot of stuff, then it becomes a matter of keeping it tidy and organizing it, categories and tags. So you can categorize your articles, or you can use some tags seriously, because generally people just shoot random categories and tags, and that becomes a mess that then we have to fix. But if you do it decently, then categories and tags can really help you out. And basically they organize the content. So then if you want to read all my articles about long tail keywords, here they are all neatly organized in that box, and it's like a super big drawer, and you just organize everything in there and you find it easier, and people will reward it, and Google
You
will.
made me think I need to go in and do some cleanup. On my website, I try to do that once a month because I don't have all the time to do it. And I'll go back and I'll just make sure that everything is categorized the way I wanted it to be. Another thing I installed on my WordPress website is a broken link checker, which was very, very practical. I think it should be obligatory for anyone listening to make sure that you install that plugin. Just go to your WordPress and go to plugins, add new, and search for broken link checker. And the one I have is completely free, but it will notify you if any links in your articles become broken, because I'm sure that can affect the ranking for Google as well. If they know that your site is full of broken links, that can hurt your SEO, right?
It's a shabby signal. It's a signal that you're giving a bad user experience. If my user wants to read more about something and the link doesn't work, you're not helping them out, and Google doesn't like them. And you may not know it unless you get notified some way, or you scan the site every now and then. Because maybe you're linking to a third-party resource and they take down the page, you never know it. So.
Exactly. So speaking of bad habits, what are some SEO no-nos? What are things that if I would send you a new website and you'll be like, oh my goodness, they've done so many things wrong. You've seen a lot of that because you work with clients regularly. What are some common ones that people do often that you wish they would stop doing, or that you have to always go back and fix? I don't know.
Well, there are quite a few different ones. If I can just think of the first one is that people sometimes are scared of words. They think if I am too wordy, if I write too much, people will get bored, they won't read, and they have these mini descriptions, these mini pages that in the end it's categorized as called a thin content, because Google doesn't really like it at all. Having too much of thin content could still get you penalized. And that is something that, for example, we see a lot with either e-commerce websites, so they only have mini descriptions, but the product description is basically your shop assistant selling the products for you. So if you add in lots of interesting things that people need to know about the product, they're more likely to buy them, to close the checkout. Also, other things still related to the words are for the portfolio pages. If you think of architects and designers and construction companies, they have those beautiful images and no words at all. Or in some cases, they optimize them, they target as keywords the name of the project. And that also happens with creative agencies. Sometimes in their portfolio, they target the name of the client, but you don't want to be found for the name of the client. You want to be found for the service that you provided. So that is being found for what you want them to search, not for what you want to display. So it's the other way around. Not knowing, if you want, in a nutshell, it can be not knowing your audience well enough, what they search for.
Well, that goes back to best practices. You mentioned in the beginning of this interview about setting your keyword goals, and they should tie into your business goals. So if you don't know who your audience is, you'd be wasting your money to invest in SEO. You need to first know who you want to serve. But a problem I have that many of my customers come to me with is, well, I can serve multiple audiences. So I'm focused on my product. Like I know I have these white tennis shoes. And I say, yeah, but are you looking for like older person who wants comfortable tennis shoe? Are you looking for young person who's looking for stylish tennis shoe, right? And this is if you do, you have to adjust your ads, you have to adjust your copy, even the way you present it, everything has to be, and your social strategy would change completely. So I'm telling them, you can't just keep selling the white tennis shoe. You have to decide. And they say, well, I want both. And I tell them, well, then you basically would need to to build 2 different sites, invest in 2 different SEO strategies, invest in 2 different advertising strategies, invest in 2 different content strategies, because otherwise Google's going to be really confused if you're mixing these 2 audiences. Do you agree with me? Or from an SEO standpoint, what would you recommend?
Well, SEO is a matter of numbers, and that's why I like it so much. So you need to see the metrics, you need to see the numbers, but in the end, it comes back to the previous question of the why. Why should they choose you instead of somebody else? So when you've got your direction, then all the site takes shape, and all the keywords, all the terms, the language that they use can be different, because that's the person that you want, and there must be a reason why you prefer that target audience instead of somebody else.
Good enough, good enough. And then what if I have pivoted? What if I built my whole website around a specific service I was offering, and I even hired an SEO agency, and for 1 year I've been writing these very long 2,000 word articles every single week because the SEO agency told me, and I've been using the keywords they gave me, and now I'm ranking for these topics. And now a year later, I decide to pivot completely and start offering new service to new audience or rebrand myself. Should I get rid of the website and really start over from scratch? Or how long would it take me to pivot?
I wouldn't get rid of the site unless you really want to detach yourself and get rid of whatever was before. Otherwise, if you've been establishing a domain authority, if you remember what we were saying before, domain authority is also based on the time of existence. So if you look at the sites that are ranking on the first page of Google, it's difficult that you see some newcomers. Generally, they've been established for a while. So if you've got a domain that has been established for a while, using it is better. And also pages that you already had and you built it, instead of taking them down, changing them. If there's still some similarity, if you're doing completely 2 different things, you can't. But if there is still some cross points, then it's worth going and reshaping what you have. And that is something that even if you don't do a drastic rebrand, businesses change over time, even without rebranding. So I would recommend, just as best practices, to normally always recheck the site, because you may have content that it's out there from 3-4 years ago, and you're still talking about the issues with lockdown and pandemic, but they're not there anymore. So the content on your site should always be up to date. Otherwise, people will find you and they will see something that is outdated, and it erodes a little bit of the trust that you have with you. So make sure that what they find you gives today value to the reader. So all the events that you took part, a workshop of 2016, these sort of things, you can just delete them. It's just like bloat. It's just stuff that, unless you've got links pointing to them and they're very popular pages. Otherwise, in most cases, people end up accumulating lots of stuff that they don't need, and they could just prune and trim and only keep the good things always well updated.
Or maybe could you rewrite it, or would Google penalize? So if it was something that I mentioned very heavily, the bad economy or COVID, and this article is out there, the links are already out there, so I don't want to remove it because it would result in multiple broken links, right? Redirecting. I could just open up the article and slightly rewrite it because the message in between was still relevant.
Absolutely.
It's more just take off that part of emphasizing that current, or if you mentioned the elections which have passed or something, just remove those current events. And that's a good point about writing articles. Is, as content creators or business owners, we have to think ahead. So a lot of times I avoid mentioning dates in my interviews, or I avoid mentioning current events, because when I go back and I consume podcasts and they spend 20 minutes talking about some current event before they get to what we're going to talk about today, I'm like, this isn't relevant anymore. This happened, and a podcast could have, or an article could have so much longevity if you would think about that. Think about trying to avoid those kind of current event references, right?
It's what we recommend to clients, evergreen content.
Evergreen. There, you found the word. I forgot. And by the way, one more thing about SEO is not only for embedded videos, but also now I'm a podcaster. You're on the podcast. So my podcast has long form audio and video. So I'm trying to hit all the points. So there'll be a video on YouTube that lives on YouTube. There'll be the audio that gets broadcasted to like 12 different places where my podcast is featured. And then I have an article that goes with it. And I usually embed both the audio and the video into the article. And then I cut it up and do little social posts to drive traffic back to the article. So I want them to come watch the video or come listen to the conversation. And one of the things that's been recently for me very important was, originally it was for accessibility, but now it's also for SEO. It's doing really good transcripts of all the podcasts. So taking our conversation and using a third-party tool to make sure that everything we said is getting written out. I had one that was installed. I removed it for a while. Now I'm going to put it back. It's called Otter AI. So right now it could be transcribing us during the recording. I have another tool that will do it after, but it does help with SEO, I've been told.
It does, because Google won't be able to rank the words they're spoken. It can only get the words that are in the HTML of the page. So getting the words out of the MP4 or the MP3 video and getting them into the page, it can help people reading. It can help people searching on Google, because Google can associate the content of that page for the topics that have been said. It takes a while doing this sort of extra job, because you have then to tweak the automatic transcription. It doesn't always come out perfect, particularly with someone with a slight accent like mine. It's not so easy. And you also need to tweak a little bit, the jargon, the way that you speak. It can be very colloquial. There's lots of ways that we speak, and when it's written, you tweak something and you make it sound very, not too formal, but written. It's a different.
We remove those things like the typical podcast no-nos that we learn to get better at over time, because we remember and then we think, I'm going to have to manually remove this or pay someone to manually do that. But the good news is it's getting better. The transcriptions on YouTube used to be absolutely terrible. And in recent times, I've barely had to tweak anything. And if I do, it's usually someone's name, because Google doesn't really know those names yet. So it will misspell our names. But mostly it's you can see the AI is just getting better and better as we speak. But I definitely am happy to take those tips on and make those best practices for content creation, so that I can get more value out of each podcast episode for the viewer, the listener, the reader, and Google will pay me back for that. And one more question about competition. So I wanted to know if there is a place you recommend if I want to know what my competitors are ranking for, or who are the competitors ranking. I guess those are two different questions. Where do all the tools do that now, all the paid tools, or do you have preferences where I should do that?
Well, there is a free way of doing that, which is just Google that. And people don't do it. They don't know who their competitors are. I mean, they may have ideas, but if you don't know who's ranking on the first page of Google for something, that's the first thing you should do. You want to be found for something. Test it out. Try Googling it, see who's there, who are the biggest players in that, and where you are compared with them, and then check these competitors' websites. Why are they ranking so well for this page? How is this page set up? What sort of content do they offer? And you can get ideas. I'm not saying about doing what the others do. I'm saying about seeing what you may not be doing, and then you realize. Then there are plenty of paid tools, and if you pay, you can get off any website which keywords they rank for, which pages, which positions, anything and everything. But even just a normal test, try Googling something that you want to be found for. You see who's winning and where you are and why.
Well, I could talk to you for another hour, but I want to be respectful of your time. I just have one last question about free versus paid keywords, because a lot of people think that they will have to pay for the keywords. What is your professional opinion on this? Is it worth it to set up a budget and start bidding on the keywords? And how should we do this the right way?
It can be worth it, but you need to do it knowing why and how you do it. Meaning that organic ranking is something that you can acquire, but it takes time. So you need to get on the mindset that it's not something that happens overnight. Based on what is your site, what is your situation, it can be 6 months to 1 year. It will take time to get there. Then once you get your organic ranking, it's yours. You don't have to keep on paying for it. You need to keep up, but that's yours and it will stay yours. But in the meantime, that it grows, you may need something to just get up there. So paid advertising, Google AdWords, these sort of things, it's a great temporary fix that gets you there whilst your SEO is warming up. You can't rely on that for the lifetime of your business, because it's something that can be quite quick in burning your budgets, particularly in the beginning. If you do it yourself, if you're not very knowledgeable in this, it can be quickly burning your daily.
I've done it. It's terrible. You don't realize just how many people will click on it, and you'll have to pay, especially your competitors. I think there's tools now to prevent that, right? I know on YouTube, there's been some tools advertised that will prevent your competitors from clicking on your video, watch ad, because they would have bots doing it just to make you pay and run out of money. And I'm sure Google, it's even worse.
Also, another way that you may want to do it is if you've got something short term coming up. For example, you've got an event, you still have some seats to fill, you want something straight away there. Or, for example, if you've got a hotel, you can't rely on paid advertising for your normal ranking. But let's say you've got a cancellation, a group has been canceled, you end up having quite a lot of rooms to fill in a short time by the next bank holiday, for example, or by the next holiday time. Then you may need a paid ads, because that will be a short-term investment that you do, and you maximize it just for that bit of time.
For me, that would translate into online launches when we are doing promos, and we do that with Facebook, Instagram ads, YouTube ads. So Google ads as well would be a great option. It's just people need to know that you cannot hire a Facebook advertiser and think that they will just know how to do Google ads or run, pay for keywords. It's definitely, you have to be careful who you hire, what they know and what they don't know.
I don't know if Google may be the best marketplace. It depends on the businesses. There are businesses that can get more on paying ads on Facebook, others more on Pinterest, others more on LinkedIn and Instagram, others more on Google. You need to do a little bit of industry research and see where they hang out, and then you pay just to maximize for that little burst of time.
Well, I think if you can find a tool to measure the traffic going towards the search, then you can determine that. So if you see that many people are searching for this keyword on Google, then maybe that's where you should be paying for an ad. But if on Facebook, it looks like that's where they're going, and it's changing by the day. I just read an article about search where they were saying that young people, like the Gen Z generation, now they're searching for hotels, restaurants, clothing on Snapchat or TikTok. They don't even use Google.
That's where they hang out.
They're
They are
hanging out for
there.
brands. They're
Yeah.
looking like, okay, hotel, Ibiza, summer. They're looking on TikTok to get the right hotel. That's insane. So
Yeah.
we advertisers, we marketers, we business owners, we need to be keeping up with what's going on. But what you said is the key. Don't pay anywhere if you're not sure that that's where your audience is searching, right? And one thing I've been able to do is ask my audience. So keep a free group like I have, where I can go in my group and I can ask people, so what's your favorite way to find a new coach? Do you use Facebook? Do you use do you like, a lot of my people say, oh, I just like watching on Instagram shorts, like the stories, and I see someone who says something clever, and then I get curious, I click on them, then I'll start following them, then I might want to hire or buy from them. And that's my age group. Facebook could be of much, I think it's a very specific people who like Facebook. I don't hang out on Facebook. I go there for personal reasons, for business a little bit. So, and I don't shut any of these platforms out, because you never know who you're going to meet where, right? But at the same time, if you're like going heavy on paying for something, you better be sure that that's the preferred method where your audience is going to go. But this has been really helpful. Like I said, I could talk to you for another hour. Where can people find you if they're like, look, this sounds like I need it, but I am definitely not going to try to DIY it. I would like your help.
The website, as I said, I practice what I preach. pinkseo.marketing is the website, and you can see what we do. You can see a little bit about us, the core values, the mission, and lots of articles giving advice. Then there is a YouTube channel, there is a LinkedIn, my LinkedIn profile. I'm happy to just have conversations if you want.
Well, perfect. Thank you so much, Silvia, for coming today. This has been really helpful.
It was a pleasure. Thank you for finding the time, for having me.